What's up, everyone, and welcome to Open Class Doodles, episode 38. Is this the end of Ticketmaster? Is this the beginning of a complete new industry, a promising market that can include way more artists and way more democracy and a way better developed and distributed ticket sales all over the country? Are we seeing the beginnings of a new economy here? Welcome to a very special episode. And as always, welcome to the COACHMC studio. This is the place where we'll help you actors, performers, entertainers to shape unique behavior deliveries to really stand out in the audition room, no matter what you're auditioning for, no matter where the audition takes place. It's always about communicating your ideas in a remarkable way and also staying ahead of the tribe, right? Understanding market fluctuations, where the art is going, trends, styles. And we have many episodes here on the channel where we focus on our skills, on our craft, on instruments. But we wanted also to introduce this new date, which is happening on Monday. This means that officially we're 3 times a week. We're live and direct, streaming here, and where we are focusing a little bit more on the strategy, on the outlook. What are our tactics for our successful future? So welcome to this brand new episode. And I have to promise you something at the end of this show. So make sure to stick around till the end. You will see the market, your art, and your future endeavors from a complete new perspective. So let's dive right into it and let's see what's cooking. Many things are coming up on the horizon. Very interesting times we're living in. And yes, of course, there are many challenges and many quests that we, have to, stand out and understand our product, our value, because of all these obstacles and not despite of them, right? It's, all these challenges, they make us better. And in the end, that is what makes artists unique. They get better over time, like good wine. And so welcome everyone to this episode. Open Class Doodles is a concept where we show you tactical doodles for success, where we show you news and interesting analysis, hopefully interesting analysis, and also things that I put together, whether it's sometimes for my clients, whether it's sometimes just reflections for myself, whether it's work that I need to do anyways. And every time I get creative, every time I do work, I realize, there is a realization, there is something that I've understood here, and maybe I share this with the creative community. Maybe this is food for thought, and you guys can, of course, branch off from that and spawn off from that, because in the creative collective we're all living in this new age where everyone is connected, everyone is somehow bridged to each other, everyone can send a message and receive pictures. It is truly important if we understand that there is a value to each picture, to each word we say, to each monologue, to each audition, to each self-tape. Everything constructs our legacy. Everything builds a stronger cathedral of success and higher walls, and everything is part of that. And so therefore, what we're seeing, yes, on the market side of things, is entertainment industry right now is tumbling, right? Is looking desperately for a compass for navigation, and that of course infects and influences the market we're in. In Italy right now, there's almost no hope for this year that there will be some sort of tax credit to kind of launch productions. There are huge strikes on the horizon coming up. We just went through a huge strike here in Hollywood, and we see some sort of also of let's not take too many steps forward before we kind of launch today's topic, but we see that the business, and we're always talking about this, whether that's on Saturday Night Hypnosis or on our live streams as well, or during our masterclasses, that Hollywood is reshaping its business model, that the industry has, of course, also trickled into the internet and to the streaming services. And because of the recent crisis, the strikes, and also the integration of AI, there is definitely a huge change going on with more and more technologies are getting implemented. And a lot of people see these technologies as a problem, as a problematic factor, as something that takes away jobs. But there are actually technologies on the horizon and new things coming up from the digital revolution and from some very smart companies that are useful to the creative endeavor and that can help us to distribute our product. Because ultimately, what is it that we're facing? A market that is getting more and more liquid, political instabilities, more and more different herds of insecurity, and more and more rivalry and controversy. So what is stable? And all, when we have so much fluctuation, what is stable? It is your way of creating value for yourself and not focusing so much on what all these different voices and noise outlets are screaming at you. Because the louder the scream, the more attention you give away, the more you get distracted from your core value, from working on yourself. And this is where most of your progress gets lost. It's like killing your gains, right? If you work out a lot and you drink a lot of alcohol, you're killing your gains. This is exactly that. Don't get distracted. Always search for, hey, is this really the end of the world? Search for your inner truth. Look at yourself and really ask yourself, does this feel like this is the absolute? Of course not. There's always a new day. There's always a new sun on the horizon. There's always a new opportunity, always a new chance. If you really want to make it, if you really want to do it, if you really want to have that success, you can ultimately do it. Yes, sometimes it takes just a bit longer, but believe me, that it takes longer. Yes, maybe it could be also some sort of, your fault, or yes, it could be eliminated. Longer periods of, artistic starvation sometimes also come from excessive procrastination, from, depression, from not really having a center in your private life. All these things are factors that, of course, are beneficiary or, of course, more negatively, hitting and impacting you getting stronger and bigger and growing in this industry. But ultimately, everything is there to serve you as a purpose. See as at what it is, right? Be this captain of your soul, of your spirit, of your emotions. Control them and navigate safely. Don't get distracted. I always say that. Always look for the opportunity when there is change, and you will position yourself, according to your beliefs and to your hunch and to your instincts, and not to what someone else is advising you to do. I mean, you can listen to all of the advice in the world, but in the end, you have to do it. If you don't really believe it, then don't, right? Just follow that instinct, that first gut hunch, and you will see most of the time this is where success will come from, even if it's sometimes the more difficult path on first glance. But it's just there to teach us. So what am I talking about? Philosophically, I'm talking about accepting the challenges of the future. And more practically, I'm talking about that Congress wants to end the monopoly of Taskmaster, of Ticketmaster and live action. Why? Because it has become, a complete dictatorship over music industry, over ticketing, over selling, over distributing, promoting, booking venues, everything. They control pretty much the whole aspect of the industry. And that has led Congress to step in and basically to provide a lawsuit. And this is one of the things that we're going to discuss today, and what it means also. Because again, the Monday episode of Open Class Doodles is more, an episode that is always looking at the future. There's somehow there to kind of, spot trends, to understand technologies, how to integrate them, and to be always ahead a little bit of the tribe. And we started, last Monday with, I think, a very interesting episode where we talked about blockchain technology, how artists can use Web3 to distribute their art, how to create it, digitalize it. And today we're gonna focus a little bit on the recording artist aspect, but also, again, going into the other art forms and all the other implications that will derive out of this new, development that is already here, but it is still, somehow most of the time ignored. Sometimes it's even fought against and battled. But I think we have a paradigm shift that is about to happen. And like always, the big players want to profit the most out of it, so they try to keep it as long as possible a secret in order to surprise the market and kind of see the opportunity the most. So this is also why we're doing this, to, you know, have another public service here for you guys to kind of, you know, giving you these trends and informations maybe will help you also to position yourself a little bit better, not getting always surprised by unexpected and news, right? This is all played out, you know, over time. They know exactly what is coming, and they try to always hide it and keep it secret as long as possible, and kind of, you know, suppress certain information. So what am I talking about? So Ticketmaster is being sued by Congress, and this whole thing is called Fans First Act, I think. Let's see what they have to say.
We allege that Live Nation has illegally monopolized markets across the live concert industry in the United States for far too long. It is time to break it up.
That's a pretty strong statement, if you ask me, right? So they are making extremely clear that, look at their faces, at their expression. You know, they have the body language. It is pretty clear that they're serious about this endeavor, right? They want to break up this monopoly that has, you know, hold the record industry over here also in a clinch for a long time. Yes, on one hand, they could have provided with an incredible service. And for those who are not aware of what Ticketmaster is, it's basically, they have artists, they have the venues, they have the promoters, they have all the great songs that, you know, they have basically 60% of all amphitheaters in the United States. So they pretty much decide who goes when, where, and does what, right? And this has become an incredible industry and has provided for a lot of money. But of course, it cannibalized a lot. The system, it pushed certain, you know, single agents instead of pushing the whole collective, and it left out a huge chunk of the market that just doesn't happen with Ticketmaster. And so, complaints are also getting bigger and bigger about the issues of how, you know, difficult it is sometimes to kind of access these tickets and to provide all the, you know, the information, registration, and in the end, the processing fees and everything. He's going to talk about it. I just at this point higher than the, you know, the purchase of the ticket itself, than the price of the end of the ticket, of the entertainment itself, which is hilarious.
Live Nation Ticketmaster has made itself ubiquitous in the live entertainment industry. It controls at least 80% of primary ticketing at major concert venues.
You know, think about how many concerts a year being held in the United States and on these major venues, and now you're talking about 80%.
It directly manages more than 400 artists and controls more than 60% of concert promotions across the country.
Yeah, that's the market. Basically, he's saying that Live Nation controls the market.
And it owns or controls more than 60% of large amphitheaters in the United States. We allege that to sustain this dominance, Live Nation relies on unlawful, anti-competitive conduct.
Yes, and so I spare you the, you know, the rest of what he's saying. This is just to kind of make sure you understand. This is in the evolvement. This is breaking. This is happening. They will break down this Ticketmaster Live Nation empire, and that means a complete redistribution of these ticket sales, venues, promoters, and everything. And I've prepared a little analytical doodle for this, and a tactical doodle for success to kind of, you know, exemplify what I mean by that. Let me see where it is. Where are you, my good doodle? You know, I place him sometimes, and he's a bit of a shy fellow sometimes, my good doodle. Right. You know, he doesn't like the public, you know, even though he's made for this show, but, you know, he doesn't enjoy it as much as I do sometimes, right? To be here with you guys. My doodle is a little bit of a It's an introvert. But I finally convinced him. Thank you, Doodle. Thank you. So, okay. Hilarious. So what do we see here? The future for artists. And I know this sounds like grand and so big, and we have, we've heard this a lot in recent past, like, oh, yeah, there's someone who comes along. No, I'm not a guru, I'm not anything, I'm not gonna do this, right? There's technology that will help achieving this. Because in the end, whether it's Spotify or, the classical outlets, that it's still someone that, gets the art and distributes it. And even on iTunes, you have the permission to listen to it, but you don't really own the art. And so we're always facing this huge dilemma for the artist that in the end, he's not really a part of the flow of money, of the flow of liquidity that gets made with his art. And that there is not a fair, not a just retribution and distribution of the liquidity that flows in, let's say, for concerts. And here we have Ticketmaster and Live Nation basically controlling 80% of the market. And that means that we're talking about a market that is $18 billion big, right? So that's not a small thing. That's like an entire culture with all of subsidiary cultures and all the transactional cultures that are attached to that subsidiary culture that, makes the original culture work. This whole pyramid of work is amazingly big. And what they've discovered basically, that Live Nation was also threatening people. I mean, this is not me saying this, right? This is in Congress, the Positive Fans First Act to kind of smash this monopoly, because there's been all sorts of illegal and illicit activity, because here it's always like a major monolith that at a certain point turns into this hierarchical, power structure. And the revolution eats its own kind. It's a reoccurring theme. They treat the artists badly. They drain the money out of all the systems. They try to promote only their artists. They manipulate the market in all sorts of ways. It's always the same. And with Web3 and blockchain, this becomes a completely new market, a completely new universe with a less powerized structure, but more with a culturized structure, where the culture really dictates how much money gets made, and the offering comes from the artist himself, and not some subsidiary and third and other parties that take care of the artist, but the artist takes care of himself. Now, you might go and say, hey, wait a second. Sometimes these agents, they do actually an excellent job because they take care of artists who couldn't possibly promote themselves. But in the past, that for a certain point, for a certain moment, that it could, I get that. In the beginning, now we're taught of promoting ourselves, of being individual brands and all that, and freelancers and entrepreneurs. It wasn't always like that. And I get that. Back in the days, you needed way more pioneer spirit in order to get yourself into an industry that was completely alien otherwise to you. Now it's way easier to access those industries and those corporate entities you want to work for. But still, in the end, what makes or breaks the deal is how you much understand what your value is actually worth and how you can distribute that value in the fastest possible way. Because if you always need to rely on other parties to do that, you will have to wait for them, for their goodwill, for their time, for their energy to finally start doing what you could have done way before. And so, yes, now it's a bit more complicated in terms of all the secondary and other things that we need to do in order to stay in the flow of industry. But we have the promotion tools to bring this to the whole globe in a matter of seconds, and to really involve millions of fans from completely dramatically different backgrounds, and letting them understand what your artistic value proposition is all about, I think that is marvelous, and that has changed, and I think that is a positive change. And yes, it is a challenge. It is, of course, new packages of information that you need to absorb, to study, and that's, I guess, just the flow of things. But in the end, it also means potentially way more defense mechanisms for you when you're experiencing a dry period, as an artist not getting booked live, or when you are having like other, moments of, kind of, readjusting your artistic compass. And in the meantime, you still have a reliable source of income, or when you have other dramatic experience. It's like, what was always the problem for us artists in the past was that as long as you don't have a star position, and you can make sure to kind of, even exit the film industry for a while and still re-enter it because you have a privileged entry. Until you don't have that, of course, you will always have to work for that acknowledgement. And you would have always feared the moment that you want to kind of just take for yourself, that could mean to miss out on an opportunity, or miss out on income, and to miss out on the potential connection that you would otherwise have with your industry. But nowadays, you don't have that anymore, because you have a smartphone, you have Web3, you have all sorts of technologies to always stay connected, even if you want to detach yourself, to produce, even if you don't want to work, to make income, even if you haven't prepared anything on that day, because you have so much that you can, still kind of leech off and drain from. What I mean is, we always, as especially recording artists, right? You always had to go through a system of, I have a company that hires another company that then represents me, and this other company sets another company into place that communicates with the one company that then will book me for my concert. And nowadays, it's the entertainer, with the help of blockchain technology, becomes a blockchain creator. And the incredible future of that is that you, as an entertainer, you get the possibility to interact directly with your ecosystem in all sorts of ways. So what was the idea behind Congress smashing Ticketmaster's monopoly? Because they saw that Ticketmaster wasn't providing for transparency, quite the opposite. The fees were exploding and all over the place. That the promotion for small artists and businesses at peak season would completely lack support. So only big artists would be pushed that would, guarantee a certain income, and the other artists and other artist groups would be completely left out. That they would need more speed, more direct settlements, and more reliability in the process of the payments. And of course, more democracy for independent promoters, to less control over the venues, a new marketing and selling strategies, distribution and the tour management, and that they would allow venues to compete against each other in a fair way. And of course, less fees, less crazy additional costs, and less bureaucracy and monopoly. Now, Ticketmaster is saying, hey, listen, guys, we have such an effort of organizing all this, of putting these tickets out there, of making sure that the artists get paid. You know how much of an effort that is? We have to, of course, get a lot of additional costs also for state border crossing payments and all that. And there is no solution to this. As long as we have inflation, the costs will always get higher. And this is why we have so sometimes high fees. Well, as long as you're talking about internet, maybe, even in some of the cases that it's clear that this is just a lie, but maybe with internet, yes, you need a lot of subsidiaries. You need to control, such a huge amount of data, and maybe sometimes you have to hire, other people and other service to do that, and that could cause for a little bit of additional costs, not as much as they, at a certain point, it was like almost obscene, right? The tickets where you really had more fees than the actual ticket cost. But if you are going into the blockchain world, into the Web3 space, you see that there is no one monolithic power structure that governs the whole system. There is a decentralized access server that is sustained by different validators, that has not a completely centered power system and grid to it, that you can access in order to sell everything. So if you think about the digitalization of everything, of money, that means you can digitalize also tickets, and that is called tokenization. So if you just tokenize a ticket and you put it on the blockchain, that's pretty much all the cost that you need, and that is a ridiculously small cost instead of issuing the ticket, making it in the system and across all different servers, and then having singular processing mechanisms in order to get the buy. No, you put it on one server that is accessible for everyone, that is sustained by a decentralized validator circuit. That means no one can hack this. It is absolutely secure, and at the same time, there is no central governance. It's distributed it's distributed ledger technology, and the tokenized tickets can be accessed without any additional fee, which means that there is more money for the artist, and also, of course, the artist himself can sell his tokenized art on that marketplace. The artist itself becomes the marketplace by accessing, an ecosystem. Let's say Avalanche, that's a blockchain that uses exactly that. You can access the Avalanche, blockchain and tokenize all sorts of art on it, and then you can, just put it on a browser where you can search for it. Let's say Brave, and when people are looking for your art on Brave, even through the time they spend just looking for your art and searching for your art, they get attention tokens, that they get rewarded for creating, traffic on their server, on the website, on their site. And therefore that token can be then swapped against another coin to buy your art, or directly into the art that you want. So this is a system that feeds itself and has not one authority that controls all the other authorities, where pretty much everyone is an authority in itself. The blockchain provides for the technology. You provide with the art, and the validators provide with the security and the stability of that circuit, of that cycle. That's what's so fascinating by it. It creates value by distributing everything in a flawless, incredibly fast manner. And we know that economic growth comes from that the money supply gets, moved around fast and a lot. If you have a lot of transactions that cost less money than classical transactions and can be processed way faster in a way more transparent way, the system appreciates more and more value, and more value you appreciate, the more value it will attract. So therefore, this is a perpetuum mobile, right? It is something that will perpetually kind of, gain value the more you use it. It won't wear itself down. It won't cause a monopoly structure. It just builds more strength in its network because it distributes it equally instead of, accumulating uniquely. So what else can I do on this Avalanche blockchain? Well, like I said, it's more like an ecosystem. Don't see it as just a currency or just a company. It's not. It's an ecosystem, and where you can do a lot of things. On this blockchain, you can have direct access to the venues that you want to book as an artist. You can directly access your festivals as a fan, as a buyer. You can, watch videos, buy the tickets, have access to, of course, to all the dates and all the time and all the concerts that are happening. Because right now, with the system that we're having with Ticketmaster, and this is also something that Congress is saying, the problem is that Ticketmaster controls pretty much all the concerts and all the 400 artists. That means they shift them around like it pleases them. And if you sometimes are wondering why a concert gets canceled, 3-4 times in a row even, and you always get whether refunds, which creates more bureaucracy, or you have to wait for another time, that means that they have used your money over a longer period of time for a service they haven't rendered. And therefore, you're financing their activities without having received the asset for it, just for the promise, which is pretty crazy. And so they shift around the artists, like they want. They, cancel dates, they tell them to go somewhere else. They just move them according to their plan. So as an artist, you have almost no influence today in when a concert is taking place, which venue is getting booked. Of course, it depends on the power of your agent and the agency that you're getting represented. But in the end, it all comes down to Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Is when you have influence here, then you have influence on the market. That means that you always have to please the biggest player. And so independent promoters almost have no chance of getting even bigger bands in. And when you ask bigger bands, hey, why don't you come down to also smaller, more intimate venues? They say, hey, we never get offered those venues, but it's actually a lie, because Ticketmaster is suppressing these requests, because they'd rather book a band that is worth a certain capital into a venue that 10x's their investment, instead of placing it in a smaller venue where maybe you don't even have like 10x, maybe just 4 or 3x's, right? That are way more important to the collective and the community, but less important for the banks. And so therefore the decisions are always driven by the business side of things, which of course will then ruin at a certain point also the reputation of the band, or kind of annihilate the old fan base and just relying then on the sales that you're making from the reoccurring buys that you have online. And so you always have to change and shift, adapting to the elephant in the room, and you will never get the opportunity to really blossom up and really develop your artistic message, right? Instead, here you have in the Web3 world, let's say through Avalanche, you have the possibility to create direct, a marketplace that is directly linked to your fan, where they can, buy the merchandise, buy premium access to your, to some of your videos, or, even personal hangouts, or to your concerts, or, you can, without any middleman, basically, give them loyalty points for, booking venues, for buying merchandise, because it's all connected and all tokenized. And you can see through the blockchain who bought what at what time, where on this planet. It's a way more individualized market, where you exactly know who your fans are, where you can reward them for being loyal fans over time. And that will then just translate in an even better long-term relationship, right, with your customer and with the ecosystem you're in. Think of audio tokens, right? With audio tokens, we can directly buy the song from the artist, not the license to kind of listen to it, but directly buy the song. That means that you can listen to it as much as you want. You have it. It's a tangible product. And sometimes these audio tokens, they can, the cover art of the CD or of what the album was, the vinyl, now becomes the NFT. And so that's a collectible in itself. It can appreciate value. So it can be exchanged on a marketplace, whether on your marketplace, on the blockchain marketplace, or swapped against another NFT from another marketplace. Another problem that Ticketmaster is posing, that blockchain technology is solving, is when you have big monopolies, right, they won't tell you that there is another price for a certain concert. Or when you have different, offering in different providers, but you have, let's say, a membership or premium access just for one of those providers, that would mean that you have to kind of subscribe to someone else, or pay some other fees, or change or add a new email address and all this stuff. When assets are tokenized, you get global access to it. You buy from each provider that is offering this tokenized asset. You don't have to subscribe to that provider in order to do so. You get direct access to it. There is no further additional information needed. There is instant settlement, absolute transparency, and this is a secure way of having direct access to the ticket. Sometimes you would actually go into one of those websites and then there is a different provider selling the ticket at the same time, and it would appear on your screen as the ticket is yours. But then unfortunately, sometimes even the day itself, they wouldn't even tell you so far till the concert starts that the ticket that was actually addressed to someone else, and that you don't have the entrance that you thought was secured. With blockchain technology, this could never happen. So you have direct sales, you have instant settlement and complete security of the settlement. You have an absolute transparency, and you have less costs, absolutely almost no friction. And exactly that you, as a fan, as a customer, as a buyer, you are supporting the artist directly, because you can see exactly where what gets sold, and you can access that offering from wherever you are on this planet. And you don't need a middleman or 2 or 3 middlemen, sometimes even, to get access to the artist anymore. Eventually, Pat, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry, I ranted out a little bit. I didn't really look at the comments here. Hey, man, good to have you. Thank you so much. Eventually, an organization like Ticketmaster will have to upgrade their own computers and proprietary systems, which... Yes, of course, love contracting, but for what? Blockchain can... yes, and the only technology that is available to this gives some power back to the consumer. It's amazing, Heiko. Yes, absolutely. This is amazing stuff. It gives way more control to the artist. It gives also the artist really the opportunity, if you are on one of those market places for Web3, there's literally all the offerings that you need. You get direct access to them. You can see when the things were produced, who made them, the cost, the fluctuations. And let's not forget, with blockchain, you almost, it's not 100%, but if you have a product, it's probably, as long as you keep the blockchain, as long as you keep the chain alive, it will appreciate value, because it's McAfee's law of exponential growth. The more the network gets used, the more it appreciates value, the more secure it becomes. That's the incredible thing about blockchain. It stabilizes itself. It's almost like nanites, right? Like little robots that sort of think for themselves on how to stabilize the program, and always making it better and adapting. It's scary good. And yes, it's opposite to the... Of course, blockchain can also sometimes collapse if it's overused and overheated. It's very rare, but it happens. But usually when you have strong validators, and there are no, like, even if there are cataclysms, right, this should happen everywhere at the same place, of course, then it's time out for all of us. Otherwise, it's almost impossible that a blockchain collapses, right? There is this, right? And instead, when you have those power outages, like, there's crazy stuff happening with your ticketing, the distribution, the accounting, and everything. Again, something that almost is impossible on a blockchain. What's the saying? It's catch-22. It's cutting-edge technology corporations need. Yet it also helps bring fairness to the consumer and corporate relationship. For sure. It's like it's here. Let me look at this, Pat, because in the end, it's this, right? The entertainer becomes the ecosystem. Because what you can do, of course, now you can go to this blockchain and say, hey, I don't want to just participate in your DeFi ecosystem, right? I want to create my own coin. I want to create my own blockchain. You can even do that if you want, but you can take the Avalanche protocol and create your own coin on top of it as a layer solution, right? And so that means that coin now you can you can do all sorts of things with it. You can, your coin, you can sell it to your premium members, to your customers, and with that coin, then get access to your art, to your ecosystem. You can also use it for financial services. You can become like a lending protocol, a lending pool. You can stake those coins, and you can even, list them on CoinMarketCap. And so they are part of the financial ecosystem as well. But the coin itself will appreciate value, or you can, use it to kind of empower your ecosystem for bookings, for hangouts, to buy your art. So you need to buy your coin first in order to purchase your art. There are all sorts of things that you can do with that. You can create your own currency, basically, and lend your own currency also out. You can basically, you become this own, it's a whole industrial cycle that now is, of course, a technological and digital cycle that you incorporate into your art. And in the future, you won't need any agents of all sorts and kinds anymore. You will be on those, on those protocols, visible on these platforms. People, can look out, get in contact, and buy your art directly. Yeah, but it is in its infancy, but the numbers are crazy. It's almost like Pornhub of finance, right? Never like has on the financial aspect, on the digital technological aspect, been such a like an incredible fast adoption. And if you look at Swift, if you look at Amazon, if you look at IBM, Microsoft, Google, Apple, the biggest companies on this planet are incorporating all sorts of blockchain protocols. Shell, the energy web token, the Shell company is using its own coin already to kind of getting all the emissions in one blockchain, secure, transparent, accessible for everyone to see. They are tokenizing real estate. So already big companies have started to adopting this, and it's from its inception, 15 years have gone. So it's an incredibly rapid evolution. That's why I'm also informing people to be really part of this, to understand how powerful this is. Yes. Yes, it is the Pornhub of finance. I'm sorry. That's pretty funny, right? So everybody on Facebook, also everybody out there on Instagram, please, join us live here on YouTube. Smash the like button for this value proposition. Understand the incredible implications of this new Open Class Doodles episode 38 about the future of the artist, because this is not just recording artists. Of course, we're taking the case of the Congress against Ticketmaster and Live Nation as an example, but this can be translated to pretty much every department of art. If you think about fashion, if you think about actors, if you think about filmmaking in general as a market, all right, short movies, festivals, all these circuits always getting controlled by these big distributors, by these big companies, by these studios that are infiltrating even on the smallest levels, what is being screened in what city at what time, instead of letting these markets kind of grow organically and kind of tell their stories, and we have seen where this has led for the last 25 years, almost 24 and a half years, only flops and disasters. I mean, besides Lord of the Rings, can you think of anything else that came out in 2000 that was somehow like, of course we had some somehow decent products. I mean, Pat says Kia and Hyundai, I think, are tokenizing their carbon output. Not sure what platform they're using, and for now, so it's just so that anybody can look up the information on the blockchain. Yeah. Hey, John Doe is also here. It's good to see you too, sir. Yes, they are tokenizing the carbon emission. Colombia is tokenizing its real estate. El Salvador is tokenizing its debt and turning it into Bitcoin, and they're making profit. Argentina is thinking of doing the same thing. So you can tokenize pretty much everything, from real world assets to even digital assets. And now it's getting really interesting because, of course, when you go into gaming, NFTs and the role of the developer and the artist has become more and more important over time. And here we're saying the same that we're seeing with recording artists and Ticketmaster, live artists and Ticketmaster, we're seeing in the gaming industry as well, where corporations are taking over and the products are miserable most of the time, and gaming industry is suffering a lot from that. This would give power back also to more independent developers, access to bigger distributions, independent distributions, and direct retail. And Netflix already is giving gamers download possibilities on their platforms, and it's growing exponentially. It started very little with a small volume, but it's growing very strongly. And Netflix is also involved in the NFT game because in certain areas they're experimenting these basic attention tokens. So what they're doing is, if you're watching an episode of Death, Love, and Robots, you're getting free NFTs that you can trade on OpenSea, on other NFT trading exchanges, or just kind of keep them and let them appreciate value over time. So they're giving you already rewards for watching their programs. Again, if you're a buyer and you're looking for art or for a game, and while you're searching for them, already the search time now gets monetized because you're validating through the electric circuit, through the electric, traffic that you're creating. You're validating the network, you're making it stronger. Therefore, you're helping the network to appreciate value, and that will be rewarded. So imagine a system also in the future when you are buying, airplane tickets. Right now, buying airplane tickets has become an absolute nightmare, right? It's something like it's just ungodly. So when you're buying, you have to kind of, similar to Ticketmaster, when you're buying airplane tickets, you have to provide all sorts of information. There is no transparency on their back end. It's just horrible process. Again, if you're tokenizing tickets and you're putting them on an open source platform, on a decentralized blockchain, you get direct access to it. You have instant settlement. You have your universal ID that is already scanned in. You don't have to type in your information all the time. You have better control over the fees. You know exactly what costs what for what reason, right? There are no kind of hidden additional costs and nothing like that. So again, this could be used for basically every ticketing system, right? It will help art the most, I feel, in the future, because again, it cuts off the middleman, right? And also the pressure that you receive from the industry. Here, it is you creating an ecosystem. And even the search for the products gets rewarded. It's not something when you're thinking of buying an airplane ticket or buying even on Ticketmaster, buying a very requested ticket, I don't know, like Taylor Swift. It's sometimes it just takes a lot of time. It's super complicated. It's confusing and it costs money, right? It's really not a nice process. It really doesn't help to have a great fan experience, right? Where if you are the marketplace provider, the fan experience is direct, and already that will help them to enjoy to get in contact with you. Where right now people are even thinking of buying tickets sometimes because it's just an endless process. They don't want to go through that, and so they sometimes say, you know what, I'm gonna watch it as a streaming. I'm not going there. It's too complicated. So Pat says, it'll be interesting to see if Mexico's new president will be crypto friendly. I think she's an engineer, so not just a politician. Yeah. The whole airline industry uses very old technology just for seating and scheduling. The financial system as well. If you think about SWIFT, it's a super old technology. Yet tokenization is meant for ideas, and ideas are very valuable. Yeah, absolutely, Pat. Yeah. All the ticket industries. This is definitely a breakthrough. This is definitely a more direct, more democratic, cheaper, more accessible way. And yes, they will find a way of infiltrate that system and create false narratives like they did with the airplane system by creating these attacks and these terrorists and making it more and more difficult to access a ticket. Somehow on a decentralized server, that's way more complicated, right? You have to find 51% of consensus. You have to buy, different through it's way more complicated to get control of this market instead of just being the issuer. But of course, we will have to adapt to whatever the dark side, kind of how it reacts to this. But this is definitely an incredible breakthrough. This is really the future that I see right here. And think of, all the problems that you eliminate through the friction, through the friction alone of typing, of putting in letters and numbers, getting stressed and all, just that is, that you have less friction, way more access and more time, that it's just more like a more pleasant experience in itself. It's all good. Type as fast as you can, Pat. Type. What does this mean? It means that instead of thinking, someone has to hire me and he takes then care of distributing my art, this is the future. You are the creator and the distributor of your art online 24/7, 365 days throughout the year to every part of the globe. Again, there are blockchains like Solana that have NFT compression that can, kind of compress thousands of NFTs in an hour. There are blockchains like Helium and Audius, as well as Avalanche and also XRP on the XRP ledger, where you can trade already your art against against the tokenized asset. You can buy real estate already and fractionalized ownership of real estate here in the United States. So this is just like the beginning of an incredible new system of creating and selling your products. Because in the end, what this shows is that the industry will rely way more. And this is what Warren Buffett was saying. The industry in the future will rely on the attention, on the exchange of these, electrical nodes and validations. I know this sounds crazy, but this is where we're heading to. More and more work that is physical labor will be replaced by automated labor. We know that, right? A lot of thinking labor will be replaced by AI. And a lot of distribution labor will be, of course, completely automatized. So what now many people think is, we're going to be excluded from the ecosystem, but that's not true, right? They see themselves as being the competitors against or the enemies of the system. That's absolutely not true. Make the system yours. What this system needs now is input. So the better your input, the more attention it gets, the higher the system and the better the system will grow. So potentially AI is just there to streamline more and more people into your ecosystem, as long as your culture is yours, your output is valuable, as long as you fulfill on your promises, as long as you, of course, provide entertainment, then the system will work for you. And even if at a certain point you stop producing and putting in NFTs, it's not like an AI algorithm on Instagram where you kind of fade out of the system if you don't produce, right? Because you're just a dead track. Over here, this will never happen, because if you have, like, let's say, a coin issued for your art, let's say I would make like the COACHMC coin, right? So the COACHMC coin will give you access to, my content. And even over time, if I stop producing content, you will still need my COACHMC coin to, get access or buy for merchandise. And even if there is no merchandise left and my art, and I don't upload anything anymore, the coin itself, coming from a network, from an ecosystem that already kind of carries a lot of critical mass, a lot of traffic, that coin itself appreciates because it is a uniquely, it's a unique certificate. And that means that it just exists once, and it's very scarce, right? Even if you have a distribution of 100 million, that one is unique. It represents a piece of art that just you own, and therefore the coin itself appreciates value over time. The NFT, the token itself, will gain more and more traction. Here we go, Rusty Bot. Ding, ding, ding. Thanks for stopping by, and good evening to everyone here in the chat as well. Yeah, it's absolutely different than anything that we had so far. So that means in the end that production will be way more mental and less physical in the future. It's about us giving input to the system and the system elaborating, distributing, and kind of earning from it. The more validation it gets, the stronger the system will grow, the more you will earn. As simple as that. Yeah, we see trends like the basic attention token, which is a very interesting thing, right? When you watch something, you get rewards for it. We see tokenized art that through smart contracts as basically a contract that is deposited as a transaction. It's a unique certificate. It can't be manipulated, hacked, or somehow forged or changed. That the contract itself can be tokenized, put into a bond and sold. That your art can be put into a bond and sold. That you can participate in all sorts of open marketplaces. That you can put your tokenized art also in a game, and if people then buy your NFT in the game, they can use it in other games, and the more they use your NFT and the more they game, the higher the price will go for your original piece of art. And you can even earn on royalties, or when the initial owner is ready to sell after the NFT, that piece of that item that they use for the game that you created. If they are sick of it or they want to sell it because they made a great percentage with it, you will still gain money with that. You can have airdrops for your ecosystem. Let's say every time you hit a certain mark, whether it's on YouTube or certain coins that you've sold, or you kind of you produce these airdrops. What it means, you gift free coins that have special abilities or that will maybe launch on the regular financial market to your community, and once they get turned into the exchange, they can actually make money with them. So that means that your customers, your fans, your loyal people in your community, in your tribe, will actually have also a little bit of income and of rewards. And it's a cycle where the system, the artistic ecosystem feeds itself instead of being dependent, like we've seen with Ticketmaster, from a system that is completely disconnected from the creation. That was the problem for us artists. And I feel like this is what made the major problems that we're facing, right? And yes, I don't know if I don't know. Thank you, Pat. That's right. Evening, sir. Good. I need somebody else to tell me if this coach guy knows what he's talking about. I have a pretty good idea, I guess. I have a pretty good idea. I would never, divulgate information. Yes, exactly, coach. It will develop through potential entropy. It's a cycle. Yes, absolutely. The more it spawns out, right, the more it grows, and therefore the more strength it will accumulate. So again, we don't need someone who's completely outside of our business to tell us of how our business should work and function. And this is what the problem for most creative industries for the last 150 years has always been, that we always needed an outlet to go to, and it was depending on their goodwill, on their good faith, on their good intention to give us the most out of what we've created in the first place. And of course, that created incredible power structures. And again, this is not, these are bad patriarchal systems, right? We need to, tear them down and whatever. It's, of course, they seized the market, they seized the opportunity, and they gave also a lot of work to other people. So I'm not per se judging. Of course, some of the cases like we're seeing right now with Ticketmaster, it's obvious they have used all sorts of nefarious methods and malintent, right, in order to kind of driving competitors out, or kind of buying them out. So, they of course, in this example, they really have done some evil things to the industry. You can say that, and Congress is also convinced of that. Thank you so much, John Doe. Coach, it's wonderful. This place is a hidden gem in the rough. Thank you. Yeah, I like that better than to be, you know, some polished, mediocre, you know, common knowledge sayer, where, you know, on a bigger forum where everybody can see me, but well, I'm adapted to something that I don't necessarily believe in. I think I will always stay the same, change, correct, you know, like a human, like we all do. But this is what I want. Talk about the stuff that is, I think, that has true potential sometimes. And, you know, it's about the quality. If I have people who are listening to me, really interacting with me and really understanding what I'm saying, this is way more worth than maybe preaching to a larger audience I can't really interact with, because they're not really getting. And I don't want to, you know, twist and torque myself into, you know, videos that I just don't feel are, you know, kind of reflecting what I'm really interested in, because my time is truly precious. I've worked so much and so hard with the company, with my clients, with everything else. So when I get my time to really kind of communicate to you guys, I want to make sure to be as authentic and, you know, as myself as possible, right? And to give you really some good stuff that you can work with, and not to kind of, you know, talk what everybody else is talking about. Pat says, Coach, you're better conceptualizing this blockchain stuff. A lot of other really good shows are more into the very technical aspects. Yeah, I think, sure, it is fascinating if you look at the, you know, technical aspect. But I think, and I always, this is why they call me on Saturday Night Hypnosis, they always call me the Oracle, because I try to always look in a holistic way at things and kind of understanding what is the potential here and where can I kind of insert myself. I'm not sure where this comes from, probably from the acting exercise, that always thinking of, you know, kind of taking and seizing the opportunity and seizing the moment, always thinking proactively, how can I, even if there's a conflict or even if it's a problem, how can I use this then to create entertainment? I think this is mostly where it's coming from. So I'm always looking at this, and because I feel like some stability and some reassurance is important from time to time, to know exactly that not everything is negative, not everything is lost, not everything is dark. There is always room for potential, guys. There's always room for quality. I've never seen a deadline being a deadline. I've never seen an out being a complete out. Of course, there are always exceptions, right? There are always moments where it's just too much, but otherwise life will always give you a chance. There's always a possibility to stand up, always a chance to kind of turn this boat around, always. With art especially, you never know. Also with art, like speaking from a personal standpoint, I always felt that my art, talking about my drawings, of course, they are, you know, this is very, what you see is, this is not really a drawing, right? This is more like I say, let's say tactical doodle. But my drawings are, you know, kind of complicated. They have a lot of details, and people were always saying, hey, it's, you know, you should make it a bit easier to understand what you're drawing there. And this is probably why my art never took off. My drawing art never took off as my acting or my coaching and everything else, because there I wasn't really trying to kind of, you know, cater to someone. I was just enjoying the process of creating the art more than, you know, the prospect of selling it. And through that, I've developed a skill with myself of, you know, kind of understanding stuff about myself while I'm drawing. So the art process for me has also a lot of healing, and having those things, like for me, it's drawing and kind of being detail obsessed and looking for all these windows. I came to understand the reason why I do this and all these details and why I overpack my stuff sometimes, my art sometimes, is because I really need that control and that expression over those tiny fragments of my picture, over those little corners of my picture. And it kind of satisfies me, and it's not there to be sold, but it helps me to get better also in other fields. So here I can completely kind of get detail obsessed. I can, you know, kind of completely exhaust my, I can satisfy my need for detail with my art, so I can be more holistic and more visual and more big and more on a wider scope when I'm looking at my profession from different angles. So I came to understand that that part of my artistic outlet isn't necessarily there to be monetized, but it's just there to, you know, keeping me stable, keeping me focused, and giving me an exhaust valve for the other stuff where I need to be way more on point, way sharper, and way more focused. Such as shows like this one. Question, John Doe. Yes. Will AI still exhibit bias and it's limited created and bound within 1 and zeros? Yes, 1 and O's duality. If AI takes over the monetary policy, well, first of all, AI has already taken over the monetary policy. We are relying for a very long time now already on simulations. And not only in the monetary system, but also in the climate system. And it has led to not very good results, because we're like you're saying, it's not only biased because it's 1 and zeros. It's because the programmers, the very one who installed, you know, the source code, that are biased, and they were looking at the whole thing from a you know, they had some glasses on that were just not reflecting reality, right? It's a biased reality that they wish would come true, but it's actually not really happening. And so therefore, it's like in the, you know, in the star, in the Death Star, there is this little bias that will actually always, it's the Achilles heel, I would call it, right? Metaphorically, it's there is something about the system, its own arrogance and its own bias, that will always make it, you know, a flaw. And whether that's the leaf of St. George, Achilles heel, or, you know, there's always this reoccurring theme in mythology as well, right? That, you know, David and Goliath, that there is this little point, this little dot that the big empire kind of underestimates and overlooks and superficially, you know, arrogantly kind of, you know, minimizes. But that little thing, that little bias, that little detail will be the fatal flaw to, you know, to these empires, to these great giants and monolith structures. And so AI will, I think, more help us than actually harm us, to be honest, because with Web3, I see AI occupied. AI just wants to be busy, right? As long as it's not busy, that's scary. As long as it's busy, it's okay. So just give him food, give AI stuff to do, and it will kind of self-regulate, and it's genius for that and will compensate. But if you start giving AI, of course, fake, you know, emotions and try to be, you know, a good listener and try to be human and try to be all these things, this is where we're going to fail. But if you look at projections and simulations and money flows and streams of income and selling and buying, AI is already regulating most of that stuff, and it's somehow working, but not perfectly. John Doe, do I have a question for you to ask ChatGPT? Okay. If humanity knows that centralized currency is threatening to the future of the human species, would we have to create an AI to give us the answer to the question, how do we get rid of currency? I have no idea if Copilot will give you the same answer as it did for me, but it's deep. Well, you know, we're already doing it. We are already replacing currency. Break down the term. It's current, right? It's the juice. It's the currency. It's electricity, right? So it's, you know, when we create openings and endings, so we have a current that opens up, bada boom, we exchange electrical discharge impulses, and then we can close the channel and both win. So currency is nothing else than an exchange. And therefore, if you want a currency to happen the whole time, you just need to offer and to give the possibility to buy, to offer and to, you know, and to receive. And we have that with blockchain. In blockchain technology in Web3, we have that direct contact, an ecosystem where you can get in, offer, get out, get in, offer, get out. So in our old system, whether that was the Swift messaging system for finance, the currency system that we have, the climate system that is based on these simulations, on these calculations, it's always something that someone has programmed and then he takes control over. And here we have an ecosystem where the validation happens as a collective, and all the dots get, double and triple checked as much as you want, actually. Until they don't check out, the block won't be concluded. The information package will not continue to be written. So when it's written and you have everything installed perfectly beforehand, you can be assured that this information is flawless. And so the advantage of that is that once you store it, you don't have to, look over it after a while. Let's say, to give you a very dumb example, in the 60s, they believed that Big Bang was roughly like 1.5 billion years ago. It was even younger than that. I think till the 60s, in the beginning of the 60s, they still believed that the Big Bang in itself was not even a billion years ago. Now, fast forward to 2024, they now believe, latest numbers, that the universe, the Big Bang, it kind of occurred 24 billion years ago. And there is another estimate that runs for the next year that is already kind of, opening up, where they believe that it's 60 billion years. So you see how in the span of 100 years, they've been added exponentially a lot of zeros to one scientific fact. Right, so it's an ever-changing, evolution because of what they are kind of receiving as data. Now, in blockchain, this data will not be concluded until it's verified. So you can't say a number for something which doesn't have a number, because if you look at the universe, the problem that we're having is that they are still thinking that this is like, the official narrative of what energy actually is, where it's actually sound, and therefore it's an infinite sound wave, right? And sound doesn't really have any age. You can go back and back and back. You will find older and older galaxies, and it will never stop because it's a never-ending wave, right? It's a scalar wave that in itself is then closed again. So it's an infinite loop, and therefore this was a bit far off, kind of a little bit, but I think you get the idea. Once the information is confirmed, the block continues to write. If it's not confirmed, the information will be never acknowledged as true, right? So evolution theory, cosmology and its theory, right? Big Bang theory, it's all theories. Nothing has been proven yet. I believe that ultimately the potential of what is happening, what is going on right now in Congress and with Ticketmaster is what we're seeing with all these ecosystems that are collapsing. And it's, like I said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. If we're talking about an industry of $18 billion, it's probably $1 trillion market in its overall value. And the same is true for the financial market. The same is true for the arts market, right? The same is true for the entertainment market. We're talking of trillions of markets that are slowly coming down to an cycle end. You can say it. I don't want to always be this. I don't like these doomsday prophets, right? I'm not one of those apocalyptic writers that will tell you, oh, it's all coming. This is not, of course, it's the end of something is the beginning of something else. It's a provocative title, but it doesn't, I don't want to be, one of these, post-apocalyptic type of, prophets here. I'm just saying that we're seeing the end of a cycle. And what it means is that technology, finance, culture, it has kind of consumed itself. It has cannibalized itself. Now it's pointing the finger against everyone. Everyone is somehow a racist, a fascist, a right-winger, this and that, who doesn't conform with what the official narrative is. And that will change again. And then it will again change. And so we are in these oscillations right now. And this cycle, you can clearly see it's coming to an end. The whole business model, the whole industry is changing and shifting and completely revolutionizing and reshaping. Take advantage of that. Get informed. Don't fall into the, psychological pressure trap. Don't get distracted or fooled or kind of caught up in stupid, endless controversies that are not fruitful for you. Focus on your own shit. Don't care for other shit that, just has been told by other people who are repeating shit the whole day for a job. And then you think you're a part of an opinion that is public. It's not. It's an elitarian opinion. It's just happening to be broadcasted. It's not a public opinion because people are not like that. We have all decency and common sense, and we all want good stuff for this planet. So don't believe the hype and go for your stuff. Understand that we have already ecosystems that allow you as an artist to distribute your art, to tokenize your art, your music, your films, your comic books, whatever it is, and to sell it everywhere. But not only to sell it, to make exhibitions, to have open critique sessions, to have hangouts with other artists, to bring together a community that want to invest in your ecosystem. We already have that technology. We don't need the ticket masters of the past. We don't need Live Nations of the past anymore, because this financial shift and this liquidification of borders, passports, and communities that are now living pretty much everywhere where it pleases them, where it financially pays more off for them, where it pleases their lifestyle, whatever, we're seeing this shift happening, and the system is just there to get implemented. We'll just grow from there. And don't fall for the trap of complaining or saying I need someone. You don't need no one. You just need to understand where your good information comes from. And of course, once you've understood the lesson, implement what you've learned. And that means, of course, to take action, to be finally, yourself and upright about your talents and, taking over responsibility, making sure that you get, your stuff out there and not wait for anyone else to take you by the hand. These are just fairy tales, Hollywood fairy tales, and how Hollywood is doing right now, we all know. It won't allow GameStop to rip every 4 years without changing something, right? Yes. And this is just part of our Monday madness, guys. We will look into the future every Monday. Last Monday was about the NFT art, about how that is growing, how artists can more and more digitalize their art. And today we talked a little bit about these marketplaces, about the tokenization of pretty much everything, and how we're now seeing these huge market shifts with Ticketmaster and other big distribution services coming down, and streaming services like Netflix already adapting to these Web3 implementations that are happening by giving out NFTs and rewards, and more companies distributing those rewards for loyalty programs that are getting more and more in volume, because they kind of, they weave in the fan into the fabric of their network. So what used to be the foundation and foundation dinners and, big cigars and, some artists that would singing, and then you would kind of write your check for the foundation that was just a tax payoff, write-off. Now it's an immediate loyalty program with an artist that you really want to sponsor, you really want to support, and therefore you're getting the benefits out of lending protocols. You can stake those in pools, you can let the money appreciate value with interest, or take your art and deal it on another marketplace. And we will see more and more individualized and personalized marketplaces, more and more fragmentalized ecosystems of art, of entertainment, of performance, of finance, of culture, of goods, of shipments, and all that. And AI will help us to implement that, to build these channels, because AI doesn't care about so much where the information comes from. As long as it has work and it can learn, as long as you give him a lot to do, he will be more than happy to accept all these new information challenges. Hey, so on Saturday Night Hypnosis, is that crowd any of this of this crypto stuff? Once again, it's so early. It seems that the comic book and movie industry is just getting into it. Well, they're positioning again the big companies. I mean, if you look at Hollywood is sponsored or is also owned by Vanguard, by BlackRock, and what is BlackRock doing? It's issuing Bitcoin spot ETFs and Ethereum spot ETFs, and they're already like dabbling into tokenizing assets over the US and in other countries as well. So they're behind the scenes, they're already working on that stuff. There are many artists also from the filmmaking industry, like Johnny Depp and others, creating NFTs, and Donald Trump has his own meme coin empire, right? So you see that there are some applications. Mainstream media is not talking about it. It's not covering it. They're not, because they're afraid of all these decentralized, fire bundles of creativity that now have their own financial ecosystem, and so they don't need their opinion anymore. I imagine those guys about crypto, now that show isn't a crypto show. So yes, I mean, probably they're also not truly interested in it. I sometimes mention it to them and to the guys, and some of them were interested in the chat. We talk about pretty much everything. But the show is, of course, has another address, but maybe in the future we will develop that a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I haven't figured out what BlackRock's long game is yet. For now, I think it's good. Well, you see, BlackRock, what is the Black Rock? It is, of course, the Philosopher's Stone. It's the cube of creation, right? It's that infinite source code that gives you also almost infinite power, infinite accessibility. The cube, the three-dimensional cube, is the two-dimensional hexagram, and the hexagon or the hexagram is associated with the planet Saturn as well as the Black Rock itself. And so if you have touchstone, Goldberg, Weinstein, so stone, black rock, lion rock, right? Mithra comes out of the rock. Jesus comes out of the rock. It's Madonna out of the rocks. Francis of Assisi had his vision in a cave. Zeus was born in a cave. So I think what their long game is already in their logo. So I'm not really sure if that's so good, to be honest. I don't really think it is. But again, what is good? What is bad? It's how you use it, how you position yourself, how, it's the weapon itself is not evil. It's how you use the Philosopher's Stone. It's what type of alchemist are you? What kind of rituals are you practicing? So it's always up to us. We are the agents of transformation of our own luck. And tomorrow we have 3 sages and a time machine. And I can tell you tomorrow, guys, we have an absolutely crazy episode for Ryan, Roger, Athane, Dragonslayer commentaries, and myself, because we've prepared something unique. So far, we have traveled to Greece. We have traveled to the artifact games. We've, kind of discovered the underground, the underworld. We've looked at the real Indiana Jones, Nicholas Moritz, Janos Moritz, I'm sorry, and the incredible story of Carlo Crispi Croce. So we tried to kind of tie many knots together, and we've been all over the place. But so far, we haven't covered anything from the United States itself. So tomorrow, I have an incredible episode. It's about the state of Arizona and the craziness, the mystery, and the amazing stories surrounding this very unique place on planet Earth. You can't even, maybe some of you guys are already acquainted with Arizona, how cool that place is, how many incredible stories also of the, the giants, the underworld. There's so much very cool stuff that, perfectly kind of fits into our time machine narrative. So we're going to discover how the state of Arizona is linked to this grand unified architecture, right? To how I believe there is one single huge narrative to our past that we have forgotten, and to shed some light into the mysteries of history tomorrow. 3 sages and a time machine, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on YouTube. Please make sure to stop by. It's a great show, super funny, and also very informative. Of course, then we have the next open class doodles is on Thursday. It's always 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to talk about more the industry itself, and sometimes also some like little local or regional topics, stuff that is happening, but of course always looking at the big picture. And on Saturday you can catch me, of course, on Saturday Night Hypnosis. We will also have talks and acting coming out, and we still owe you the masterclass that is coming up as well, that we had on how, you know, the art of improv. But since we are kind of sailing towards the summer break, I feel like we, you know, it's not pressing anymore. So in a couple of weeks, we definitely will upload that one. It's a huge masterclass. We had so much fun, discovered so many cool things about the art of improvisation. It's a craft in itself, and I think it's also very inspirational masterclass. So definitely check it out. I've really enjoyed doing that one. Thank you so much, Pat, Brad. Interesting as usual, Coach. Good show. Thank you so much. Of course, it's much obliged, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Definitely smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. It just goes on just to show YouTube and also, you know, our humble community over here that you guys are appreciating the content that we're producing. Catch me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm not posting a lot lately, I know, lately, because guys, it's been just crazy over here with the studio and the clients, and also thinking of these new projects. But we have expanded our, you know, production catalog to a Monday, so therefore at least a little compensation. At least we have a little bit exposure here. We are, you know, basically 4 times live a week if you include Saturday Night Hypnosis. Hey, Rusty Bot, thanks so much. But would you want to know your true history? Yes, through choices and experiences. Yes, no, definitely. I do want to know my history. I do want to know. I'm obsessed about history, and I'm not saying that this would avoid me, you know, or this. Of course, it would influence me, but still, I'm a discovery person, so I'm not afraid of discovering something new and unexpected, even though I know something about my past. It just gives me more stability. I feel sometimes, even if I can, you know, complete more and more puzzles of my past, if I can put, you know, a more cohesive picture together. I'm not claiming that I can, you know, figured out everything. It's far away from that, but it somehow over time, you know, really over time, you kind of get a bit of a fragment of what the, you know, the total picture could be. And to me, knowing that and having an idea of where I'm living and having kind of essential exposure to that, and nonetheless knowing and perceiving myself, that gives me way more, how can I say it? It delivers more confidence to my system. It gives me way more self-esteem also. It's just like, hey, if I survived so long, if I did it so far, even though the enemies are so big and the system is so, in a way, the way it is, and so challenging, that makes me understand my value a little bit better. Maybe I'm not as bad as I thought, and maybe there is some stuff that is coming out of my mouth, or the actions that I'm performing, or the coaches that I'm giving, that is somehow helpful to the people. And if just a couple of people feel inspired through that to, you know, to kind of improve on themselves and you know, kind of produce better outcome for them and their community, then already, you know, this is already mission accomplished. I feel like, wow, doesn't get better than this. So yes, of course, give me the information. The better I get informed about my past, the more effective decisions I can make in the present about how I want to direct my steps into the future. Yes, it's a universal waltz. Yeah, it's a scalar wave. We're going to talk about scalar waves in one of these episodes, probably with the guys. It's such an important and fascinating topic. There's so much we can get out of that. And definitely I agree with you on that, John Doe. It's a universal waltz. Everything moves, everything spins, everything is in connection with each other. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by once again. Catch me tomorrow, 3 stages and a time machine. I hope you enjoyed today's episode about the future for artists and the incredible future for the blockchain creators, and what type of possibilities are already available for us and how to market our product. Definitely check out my other videos on the channel. There's so much good stuff. If you're a communicator, someone that wants to use acting as a negotiation tool even, or just as a tool to kind of see the world through a different perspective. Or if, as it happens that you're a true performer and you want to kind of dust off your toolbox, or looking for some new weapons, or just kind of, go back to basics and maybe kind of revisit a little bit what you think your craft looks like. All the stuff, you can find tips on memorizing the lines, better self-tape, better acting auditions, getting in touch with your networks, with your industry, communicating a bit more effectively, all that juicy stuff. You can find it over there. We have the acting alphabet with a nice, interesting, like interactive type of dictionary that kind of gives you ideas about what is necessary on set to survive and to thrive and to really establish yourself as a household name. And of course, you can also DM me privately if there's still something that is unanswered, if there's still something that you kind of, you feel like you want to improve, if there's a show reel that you want to spice up with a great video, if there's an audition coming up, self-tape project, or let's say just there is an acting school you want to apply for, you want to kind of recite a great monologue, a soliloquy that really has some right? Contact me through readytoperform.com, and let's see if we can make this adventure happen. And for now, I would say this was everything I could share with you. I will see you tomorrow as well, John Doe. Thank you so much for stopping by once again. And now, guys, I truly believe you're ready to perform.